If you missed it live, then you're in luck. You're listening to the Hey Techies Rewind.
Now we're going to go right to the phones. We have on the line a young man, Haisten, right?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm so sorry. You know what? I apologize, Haisten. This is my fault. I didn't hit the on button. I'm like doing 75 things at once, my friend. So, but I'm going to have a few mistakes tonight, so we'll just have to work through that. But how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great.
Oh, I'm doing well. Okay, so you had a question. What was your question?
My question was, with the iPad Pro launching Wednesday, Apple is intended for it to be, more for businesses. But I was wondering if you thought that businesses were going to buy this or is it just going to be, regular consumers picking this thing up?
No, I think without question, great question, by the way. I think without question, it's going to be businesses picking it up too. And one reason why is the price. I mean, it's a higher end product, no question. It's from the money to everything about it. It's a great product. It's well built. Is it a computer killer? For some, it will be. For some people, this will eliminate their need to even need a PC. But at the same time, so would the Microsoft Surface, and so would the Microsoft Surface Book. The Surface Book obviously is a high-end item, and I don't know if you've seen that. You may have.
Yeah, I follow all this stuff.
Yeah, I figured you did. It's quite a high-end item, and I would love to have one, but I don't really have $1,500 laying around just anywhere just to dabble, and that pretty much is what it's going to take to get into one at the low end of the spectrum. But you mentioned the iPad Pro, and I obviously I'm not going to have one of those anytime soon either, but I think it's an across-the-board type product, and there's no question that Apple for a long time is trying to woo business. I mean, from the standpoint of education, the education side in higher ed colleges, the grade schools, even on into businesses, they've been trying to push and pry their way back into the business side of things. Not that they were ever a big deal in business for a long time. They mostly early on strive to sell their stuff, their great equipment to consumers. They've been mostly a consumer company, and to education. And so they have made great strides in that question. No question about that. But moving forward, I think that the consumer market is so saturated that they make such great products, they're going to have to expand, although they're not hurting. They're not hurting in any way, shape, or form. I don't mean to even insinuate that, but no question. And there's going to be a lot of things that this product, the iPad Pro, Haisten is talking about, that relate to business. I mean, as far as, for instance, drafting, and there's other products do this, but you won't need a pad anymore. It'll be on the actual device you're writing it on. That could really cut down on a lot of time-consuming changes to, say, when you're manufacturing an automobile, anything like that. You could really drawing. I thought of another one, Haisten, in the production of newspapers. Cartoonists. I'm sure they still like ink and paper, but this thing, and like I said, it's not the only thing out there. You can't throw out the fact that there's other things that has been doing this for a while. The iPad actually has had some of these features with your finger and that kind of thing, but the Surface Pro really brought that to light. It had a stylus, and it wasn't the first one to do this, but it's probably the first one to do it fairly well. But then, of course, Apple, not wanting to be outdone, as you know, they brought this product on this year and, of course, shocked the world with a stylus because, as you know, and you've probably read, and if you kept up with it, that was one thing Steve Jobs poo-pooed, for the better lack of a term. He didn't like that.
We were born with 10 styluses.
Yeah. Yeah. And, of course, there's been some discussions about the fact it looks like a pencil but has no eraser. You can't turn it over and erase. And I think that Microsoft, they made a big deal about theirs is erasable, that you can flip it over, and the other side's so it feels like the actual tool. So there's that. It's very interesting. But you're right, the price point on that is pretty high. And the question will be, can average everyday Joe afford an iPad Pro? I'm going with no. They're going to have to sell. This is going to be an appointment product, and what I mean by that is somebody's going to save up or put it all on the line and credit. They're going to get it. They're going to want it. You've just got to want it, or it's going to be like you said, a business. That's a great question. So you were there at Robotics Day. So you guys came away with the crown, if you want to say that again, and headed to Auburn. And so I know you're looking forward to it.
Oh, yes, sir, I am greatly.
Okay. Well, it's like the 5th and 6th, right?
Yes, December 5th and 6th.
Okay, yeah, December 5th and 6th. Hey, not long. Have you thought about making any changes, or you're pretty happy with your robot where it stands?
Yeah, we're going to I can't really talk about the modifications on the air because,
No, I wouldn't ask you to do. No, I'm not talking about that. You don't have to give me specifics. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But yes, we are thinking about modifying a few things.
Okay. No, I wouldn't even, like the last guy I had on, he wouldn't give me specifics, and I knew I wasn't going to get it out of him, and I wasn't really trying. So I understand that.
I know you didn't mean anything about that.
Oh, no, espionage. I know. Well, you really had that going on Mall Day in some way. I mean, because when we got to the real event, boy, some people had your idea.
Yeah, I mean, we like to keep a good head on it. Like, some people don't get as much time, and we have a class, and then we also stay after school.
Right.
We're just glad that everybody has fun with it. Somebody has to copy an idea. It doesn't really bother us as much.
Well, no.
They don't have as much time to perfect it.
Yeah. Well, you had some pretty good competition this year, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, this year's game, to me, wasn't as, I don't know. I preferred past year's games.
I understand
this one,
that.
So, yeah.
This one was very complex.
Yeah, it really was. When last year, there was no market shift or anything, and you could just go out there and score as many points as you wanted every time and not have it be affected by the stock market.
But I understand.
And this year you had to watch what other teams were doing.
Right, and I understand. And if you don't, and I don't want to share this with our listeners, if you don't know, you could get time to watch our video, but just give you a little background. They were in a robotics competition. It's the best. It's a robotics competition, capital BEST. And what it is, they had to sell their product as they were going to actually go in and repair a mine and pull out the ores. Well, and to do so, you were battling others trying to do the same thing. And while you were doing that, if you mined too much of one ore, then that would drop the price down for sequential rounds. And so that's what he's talking about here. And it was real interesting. Hey, that was our first time. That was our first time to do this. And I really appreciate you calling me tonight because I wanted to thank all of you. You kids were great. We got
I appreciate you covering the event.
Yeah, we got a lot of footage. Hey, we're already thinking about next year. I mean, we really are. So we're really excited about it. I don't plan on going anywhere, Lord willing. And I just really enjoyed it. It was a super, super day. And if anybody gets a chance next year, you need to think about going to this. So the atmosphere, even if you don't go, it's free. Even if you don't go all day, go to the atmosphere for a few minutes, man. It'll invigorate you. I mean, you just see these robots on the field and how excited these kids get. And all the band, there was bands there. It was an amazing day, was it not?
Yeah, it's an all-day pep rally is really what it is. I mean, it's really exciting to me.
Well, I just like to see young people out doing something. Young people get a bad rap today, and some of them deservedly so. But many of them are not doing those things. Many of them are out trying to make something of themselves and to expand their horizons. And this is really part of that. And of course, you and I can sit here and thank McCartney Construction, Alabama Power. I mean, I got a list. I need to get my list out for the end of the night. Of course, Central Alabama Community College, who does most of the hosting of it. It's a great program. And Haisten, I really appreciate you calling me.
I appreciate you taking the call.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to add, you said about the teenagers earlier. You hear about teenagers staying out until 3 in the morning or something,
Right.
doing something crazy on the weekends. Well, that's us up at the high school, just working on the robot or presentation or booth or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff becomes your life, really.
Yeah. Well, a lot of I know all of those involved. They work really hard. There's no question about it. They everybody and pretty much everybody I saw they'd put their heart into it. Some robots did really well, and some were just couldn't traverse the track well enough. I keep saying track. It's really a playing field. And you kind of got a sense that they're going to have to rethink their process. I think I'm afraid. To come back the next year. But everybody did well as far as that goes. Some great displays this year. That was pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah. I thought the booths were really good this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they've just gotten better each year.
Yeah.
I really liked our booth.
Oh, of course.
Pleasant Valley had a good booth.
They
I like
did.
Mumford's booth a lot. I mean, I don't really get a bunch of time to go and look at all of them.
Sure. You're busy trying to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you were the CEO, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Well, we plan on having you on. I know I talked to you via email, but we plan on having you on after Auburn. I want to find out what's going on, either by phone or in studio. We'll continue to work it out, but just for housekeeping's sake, we're hoping that'll be around December 17th. That's what our hope is, so if everything works out. But we'd be glad to have you on to talk about how Auburn goes, and we're hoping a victory.
Yeah, we hope so too. We've gotten pretty close in years past, but it's always been some weird mistake. Like last year, I got really nervous. I was a spotter last year, and when I sat down the robot, I ended up tripping over it and kicking it, and it kind of messed up our skis. Yeah. Well, not the skis, our forklifts, and we weren't able to score any points. But if it wasn't for that, I think we would have had a victory last year.
Yeah, those kind of things happen. I mean, that kind of thing's going to happen. You got to expect that. Look. Pick yourself up, which you've clearly done. Don't let that affect you. The one thing several pieces of advice I can give you. Number one, you're never alone. God's always with you. Whatever area you come from in life, whatever you believe, God's still with you. Number two is don't ever give up, because there's always something around the corner. If you give up, it doesn't mean that you don't refine what you do. It doesn't mean that you don't maybe second guess how motive you're going around something, but just don't give up on trying. Don't give up on trying. And number three, don't ever let no be the final answer for everything. Meaning, if you don't ask something, the answer is always no. So ask, seek, try to find out. For instance, this show, sometimes this is a little behind the scenes, but the guru has asked me, how are you getting these guests? I said, well, I don't worry about if they say no. I can tell you right now, if I don't ask, I can guarantee you no's the answer. But if I ask, hey, yes is the answer. And I've had a lot of yeses. And that's why we have this show. We have this show for not only that, but we have this show for our listeners. And listeners like you. And I really appreciate you tuning in. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a great night, my friend.
Thanks, you too. Shock the nation.
Shock the nation. There you go. Hey, Haisten from Talladega Robotics team. Thank you so much, buddy. Take care.
Thanks, you too.
Yep. Well, all right. There you go. So that was really nice of him to call in. And I wondered if we were going to get calls like that. So we had I got 2 minutes here, but I'll just close it out for this hour and get you ready for our dose, as the Bruce would say if he was here. But it was really neat to see, and I've said this and I'm going to say it again, all these students actually working together. Yeah, they were probably frustrated at times, but hey, that's real life. They were probably frustrated about this, that, and the other. And, hey, don't we get that way? Of course we do. even as adults. And they had a lot of great coaches. I'm going to tell you, those coaches put in hours and hours into those students. A lot of time is put. And that says a lot to those men and women. We got to interview several of them. We talked to a principal, interviewed a principal for Pleasant Valley. Me and Guru had a great time, and I'm just excited about it. I mean, somebody asked us, said, well, who you work for? Well, it's like, work for myself. They were kind of shocked that we would actually spend time to come down there, not make a dime on it, and do the show. And I said, well, we're not doing it for me. Although we're getting something out of it, I'm doing it for these kids. I care about kids. I care about my listeners. We want to bring great content to you, some things you may never think about. And that's what we're wanting to do, and that's what we're striving to do. And it may not always be perfect. I can guarantee you there'll be some bumps, and we might get a bruise or two. But I just know that, these kids are doing great stuff. Great work.
The Hey Techies Show is produced by Mike Stedham and co-produced by The Guru. Station manager is Billy Dunn. Join us again next time for another exciting installment of the Hey Techies Show. It's going to be great, maybe.